Hi, Jeff. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm still under the jet lag, which comes and goes in the afternoon. Hi, Knowledge is Power. How are you? So I'm still feeling a little bit jet laggy, but it'll get better. Hi, you talking to me? It is time for more CYB this week. It is our favorite show every day, 3:30 London. It was 10:30 in the US, but now it's changed because on the East Coast, I think you guys changed your time last night or on Saturday night. So normally it's hi Margaret, don't worry, I'm calling you now. Hi James, how are you? So Margaret, if you're there, you'll just see me calling you and you're just going to answer it when you can. Hey, there we are.
Hi.
See, I told you it was easy.
I panicked, sorry.
No. Are you in a library or are you in your house? It looks very...
In my house.
Yeah, you're a book shelf lover like myself in my house. Yeah. So listen, we're going to speak to Margaret today about some of her writing and some of her travels. And I'm going to pop up some questions from time to time to keep the conversation going. So I'm going to show you how that works presently, Margaret. When I spoke to you to prepare for this a couple of weeks ago, you were going to do a speech, I think on the 29th of February. And am I right in thinking it was about the Bayeux Tapestry?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, good. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to ask you some questions and you're going to push the correct answer, right, on your phone. The quicker you answer correctly, the more points you get. I'll just show you one and we can see how this all works. So you should see question one. How long is the Bayeux Tapestry? Is it about 230 meters, 70 meters, or 1,400 meters? What do you think, Margaret?
It's 220 feet.
Yes.
So I'm tapping something and it's not.
Oh, you might have run out of time. You got to be super quick. Yeah, 70 meters. It is 230 feet. So let's talk about the Bayeux Tapestry for a few minutes. Tell our colleague, our watching audience, like in a nutshell, why is it such an important and unique, what do we call it, a document, a recording? And also, I think you told me, and I think I know it's maybe not a tapestry. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, first of all, it's so important because it shows what happened leading up to the Battle of Hastings, which was so important in English history. It shows the battles, it shows the people who were in charge before and who was involved in the preparation and the sequence of things. And it's also important because it's an embroidery. It's stitched in wool thread on top of linen. If it were a tapestry, the pictures would be woven in. So it's a very important piece of embroidery that miraculously has survived since the 11th century. So it's just amazing to look at.
Who made it and why did they make it?
We don't really know. There are a few different hypotheses about this. One of them is that William's half-brother, Bishop Odo, commissioned it. And the other is that Queen Matilda, his wife, commissioned it. And we're not sure which, but we do think that it was embroidered by women in the Canterbury area. But we don't even know that for sure. But what we do know is that Queen Matilda was an avid embroiderer herself. So she very likely would have had something to do with it. And it might have even been her posse of embroiderers that did the stitching.
I'll give you my connections to it in a few minutes. I hinted them to you when we spoke last time, but I'm wanting to ask, if it was made in Canterbury, why is it called the Bayeux Tapestry, and why is it, I believe, located in Bayeux, which is in northern France? You visited it, I believe.
Yes, I was just there in December. Well, it was probably made in Canterbury. We're not 100% sure of that, but it was made for Bayeux, where William came from, and it was displayed, we believe, we don't even know this 100%, but that it was displayed in the Bayeux Cathedral, and it's been kept there through the centuries.
So you're joining me now live today from what we call over here very much 1066 country. In fact, right after this, I am in Hastings, okay? And right after this conversation, I have to take my car to be fixed, and I am taking my car to the town of Battle. That is where my garage is. And for those of you who may not know, I guess they just called it Battle because that's where the battle occurred. It's a very, have you been to Battle, and have you been over to this part of the world then, Margaret?
No, I have not.
Okay, so you must come. I think I told you that, and you can see Battle Abbey, and it's a beautiful old abbey, and is now sort of run by English Heritage. So you can visit it, and you can see the field, what they call Senlac Field, and that is where they believe the battle took place. I'm going to ask you another question about the importance of the battle in a second, but actually, as I told you before, if you speak, this is what a program, this show today is for history nerds, and we're going to come on to nerding in a minute, everyone, as you're watching. But if you speak to locals where I live, and as I do, they say, oh no, it didn't occur there. It occurred about 3 miles up the road. And from my house, at the top of my house, I have quite a nice view, and I can see, I told you this, I can see a place which is called informally Tent Hill, T-E-N-T, and that is apparently William the Conqueror and his troops camped the night before. And my road, which is called Manchester Road, has nothing to do with it, but it joins onto another road called Standard Hill, and that is purportedly where William the Conqueror laid down his standard, like his marker to say, I'm here and I'm coming to get you. But there are some things like, so I don't know a lot about it. I know those facts, but let me ask you another couple of facts that I think are interesting. How important is this battle in the history of, let's say, the world even? Because it always, like, everybody kind of knows about 1066, and like it seems to have stuck in people's, you know, collective consciousness. And really, why did it take place in the Hastings battle area? Because I would have assumed the king would have been in London. Why didn't they? Or maybe the king came down to protect himself, to, like, and there's other areas that they might have landed at, like Pevensey Bay, which is nearby. I'm assuming they just figured, the French figured this was the easiest place to land, and the king came down to defend there. And why has it resonated as such a big, important event?
Well, it's true. They landed in Pevensey, and the king had been fighting another king. His name was Harold, and he was fighting Harold with an A, H-A-R-A-L-D, from Norway. And he found out that he was expecting William, but then when the weather started getting colder, he thought, oh no, he's not coming. And so they were celebrating their win over King Harold with an A, and he got word that William had landed. So they marched south, and they actually met William near Hastings. So that's how that happened. And it's important because William won. King Harold with an O from England took an arrow or a spear or something in the eye, and he died. And so William from Normandy took over the English throne, which he believed he was entitled to anyway. So that's pretty important globally.
And then they bring, I guess, customs, traditions, language over the next few hundred years. Would it be correct that some people in England would have spoken French for a bit? Is that true, or is that not true?
I think so. I didn't come across a lot in my reading, my research, my preparation for this lecture. I didn't come across much about the language. But yeah, they probably would have, because all of these French Normans were moving into England.
Now, I believe there is one more question about the tapestry, and then we'll move on. I believe there is a depiction of a, I don't know what we can call it, interstellar or interplanetary event that happens every so often. Am I right? And in that, and
Yes.
what was that?
Halley's Comet. They showed that in the tapestry. I call it the tapestry because that's what everybody knows. But it was embroidered, of course. And they show the soldiers and all the main characters pointing at this thing. They didn't call it Halley's Comet yet, of course. They thought it was foretelling doom. They didn't know. So it turns out it doesn't, and it was rather fortuitous for William because he went on to win England.
Okay, next I'm going to ask you a question now. So fingers at the ready here. And this question is about Halley's Comet, everybody. So Halley's Comet is this, you know, it's a comet. It appears periodically, but how often does it appear? And when was the last time? Here we go. When is the last time that Halley's Comet was visible from Earth? Was it 1986, 1999, or 2010? Margaret, do you know?
I tapped on 1986.
You tapped well. Good for you.
Oh, good.
That's correct. Yeah. And is it every 76 years, something like that, it appears?
It's something like that. I just remembered that I probably won't see it again.
No, I know. You think of things like that and it makes you, yes, realize your situation in life. Yes. So tell us about your book, Nerd Traveler, N-E-R-D Traveler. What can one expect to find in this book?
This book is a collection of 13 travel essays. I travel in different places in the United States and in Europe, and I like to write about the music and or the art and or the literature and the history of the place. So I do a lot of research before I travel. I'm reading frequently while I'm in the place. And of course, my little shopping excursions in the gift shops and bookshops produce a lot of books, and I like to read them after. So I noticed that other people I was traveling with didn't do that kind of thing. So I thought, oh, I must be a nerd. So I just called myself Nerd Traveler. So it's 13 essays like that, and an introduction. And I wrote it while I was in my MFA program, Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. And so I was traveling with that group. That's why I chose that particular program, because they traveled. So I got to go to some places and see these places, but also kind of gauge traveling through other people's eyes. And that's when I determined that I was a nerd traveler, because I saw what they were interested in versus what I was interested in.
Dot in the audience says, we love nerds, which we do here. And Buddha, who's also watching, says, what a nerd with a little heart. So that's all a positive thing. I was looking up the word nerd for us. And I'm going to ask question 3 now about the word nerd. I'm not saying this is the very first example of the word nerd, because I'm not sure it is, but it does appear in a book by Dr. Seuss or Seuss, depending on how you say his name. I think we say it different ways in different countries. But here we go. Question 3. In which Dr. Seuss, as we say, book did the word nerd first appear? The Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham, If I Ran the Zoo. Do you know that one, Margaret?
I do not, so I'm going to take a wild guess.
What was your wild guess?
If I ran a zoo.
You're good at guessing. Well done. It is indeed correct. Very good. So the choices of places to go for your book were dictated by this program you were on. Is that correct?
3 of the places, Vienna, Dublin, and Barcelona.
Okay, good.
The other ones I just chose.
You just chose to go to?
Yeah. depending on who I was traveling with or where I was inspired to go.
And I think it's hard, a bit like having, there are so many incredible places and so many incredible cities. It's a bit like saying your favorite child, that conundrum. But if you have, is there one or two places or cities that like really resonate with you that you just think are so special for you?
Yes. Vienna is very important to me because I've always been a classical music lover, always been studying Beethoven, Haydn, Mozart, and later composers too. And so to be there in Vienna where all this happened was just spectacular. And I got to go there twice. And I just fell in love with that city. But also in the US, I enjoyed going to Concord, Massachusetts, where the founders or the early proponents of transcendentalism were. And originally, I'll admit, I wanted to go and see Louisa May Alcott's house. She's the woman who wrote Little Women, and I knew you could tour the house, and I thought, oh, that's going to be great. And I brought my sister along with me, my older sister, and that turned out to be the last trip we ever took together because she passed away. So that is super special to me. And there was a used bookstore in town, which was just fabulous.
I love a used bookstore. Yes. So when you said Concord in Massachusetts, I kind of jumped ahead in my head and thought you were going to talk about, I don't know, the Minutemen or Paul Revere or something.
The shot heard round the world. We saw the bridge where they fired that, but.
Yeah, but you're talking about transcendentalism, which is a word I have heard, but can you give us a context for what that is? Well,
that would be people like Henry David Thoreau and Ralph Waldo Emerson, and actually Louisa May Alcott's father, and Nathaniel Hawthorne. They all have sites in Concord where you can visit them, and there's a huge church for transcendentalism there, and it's very closely related to Universal Unitarian religion, and I have a good friend from that. I'm saying religion, but I don't know. And she kind of clued me into some things to look for when I was there, just having been in that. Yeah. So I wasn't really after the religion aspect or the philosophy aspect. I was interested in seeing Walden Pond, where Henry David Thoreau built his little cabin. They have a reconstruction, not the original. Tiny, you fit a twin bed and a desk, and that's about it. So I was interested in seeing the literary side.
Right. I've got it. Okay. I might come back to that in a second. Let's ask you a couple of questions about cities. The first one is, these are all like home runs for you here, I think, Margaret. The first one is about a famous architect from Barcelona. I think we only need to say that and we have a good idea. Which famous architect is known for his Sagrada Familia in Barcelona? Is it Gehry, Piano, or Gaudi? And
Gaudi.
I think it is Gaudi. And I think you wrote about Barcelona and that's a pretty extraordinary building, which, am I right in saying that it's still not finished or is still like, seems to be going on forever?
I may have heard that they've finished it.
Mela says it's stunning. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. The stained glass kind of reaches up to the sky. So when you walk in, it's coming at you from above and directly in front, and it's really something.
Buddha
so
says
try to go on a sunny day.
Yeah, I went there and just before the pandemic, and there was definitely some work happening and some scaffolding up. Next one is about one of your favorite cities and your music. Again, I think you'll find this a bit of a home run. Which of these composers did not die in Vienna? Mozart, Beethoven, or Chopin? They're not always going to be this easy, Margaret, by the way. The next five I'll get a little bit tougher on you. What was the answer to that one?
Chopin.
Yeah, of course, the others did die there. And I think I certainly think you can see. Can you see that? Go and visit the Mozart house, or can you visit houses for both of them there?
I did visit Mozart's house. There was a Beethoven house, but I saved that for my next visit because I was out of time. I saw the Johann Strauss Museum, which is actually in his apartment. So I saw Mozart and Strauss. Schubert and Beethoven have to wait.
Yeah, if you're listening along, tell us your favorite cities as well. We're interested to hear what everyone else's favorite cities are as well. Where did I come back from? Last year, I went to Marrakesh, which was pretty interesting. I just came back from Cape Town, which was pretty interesting. I do like those New England towns. There's a lot of interesting places up there. Probably would be predictable and say New York in the States is probably my favorite because you just feel excitement, especially as a foreigner going to New York, you feel excited. Mela says Rome. Oh, there's a good one. There's Bill Hemming join us. That's a really good answer, actually. An incredible place is Venice. Have you been to Venice, Margaret?
Not yet.
Yeah, Venice is completely awesome and almost otherworldly, mind-blowing. I mean, I have to say Venice was absolutely fantastic. And also that's when I found out that my wife was going to have our son. So I guess it has a special little memory for me. Now we have a leaderboard here. Let's see where you are. As I say to everybody, if you can come anywhere in the top 20, you're probably doing quite well. So Nova Stephen at the top, SJP is second. As I page down, I can see you in 18th, Margaret. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Let's go on to the second half, which is more. Dot says, welcome back to Bill. That's nice, Dot. The second half is more kind of general knowledge. The first half was more about your specialist areas. But the next question is, in Greek mythology, what type of creature is Cerberus? A flying horse, a many-headed serpent, or a three-headed dog? And remember, everyone, the quicker you answer, the more points you get. What did you go for there, Margaret?
The three-headed dog?
Yeah, like most people, they went for the three-headed dog as well. Don't forget, if you're watching for the rest of the week, we have shows every day at 3:30. Tomorrow, we've got Cyber Goddess. Thursday, we've got Let's Go for a Pint. And Wednesday, we're doing shows with AI characters now, Margaret. So last week, I had AI Albert Einstein as a guest, who I think came 36th. And this week, we've got AI David Bowie as a guest. We're talking about, here I am down in the south coast of England in what they call 1066 country. And we have a mountain range here called the South Downs, which are very beautiful, but they are not known as the backbone of England. That's the next question. Which mountain range is known as the backbone of England? Pennines, Dartmoor, or Cotswolds? Would you happen to know this one, Margaret?
I put Cotswolds, but I have no idea.
Yeah, it's the Pennines. I think that, oh, that caught out a lot of people. Yes, most people went for either Dartmoor or Cotswolds. Dartmoor is very south. Cotswold is sort of Midlands-ish. And I think Pennines is like north, and that's why it's known as the backbone. I think it crosses the top of England between England and Scotland. So last night we had the Oscars. I don't know if you follow the Oscars or follow movies, Margaret?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good, good, good. So there weren't really any surprises last night. I guess the main surprise was Emma Stone beating Lily Gladstone to the Best Actress Oscar. I haven't seen either of the films. Poor Things, I don't know why I'm scared of seeing it. And Flowers of the Killer Moon, I just don't know how I'm going to watch it for 3.5 hours. But anyway, we shall see. Emma Stone won the Best Oscar, but for which film, here's our next question, did she win her first Oscar? Was it Birdman? Was it The Favourite, or was it La La Land? I can tell you she was nominated for all of those films, but she has now won a second Oscar for Poor Things. Which one did she win her first Oscar for? What did you say, Margaret?
Well, this is a guess. La La Land?
It was La La Land, yeah. It was that famous time.
Good.
In fact, I think it was with Bill last week. It was that famous time when they announced the wrong winner, you know, Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty. There were no mistakes last night. So it was La La Land. Very good. Couple geography one next. Back to Italy. Have you been to Florence, Margaret?
No, I haven't been to Italy yet. It's on the top of my list.
Oh, Italy. Well, Italy's amazing. Yeah. just, yeah, you will know. You will know. It's incredible. So, penultimate question. The Italian city of Florence stands on which river? Buddha, yes, Birdman was a very good film. And it was Michael Keating's return. So Florence, is it the Po, is it the Arno, or is it the Tiber? Did you know this one, Margaret?
Nope.
I thought this was a bit tricky, actually. What did you go for?
Arno.
You're good. Your guesses are good. Your guesses are very good. Very well done
I have
indeed.
to beat Bill Hemmig from last week because he's my coworker.
Yeah,
and we're battling.
I think he was like 28th.
Mm-hmm.
From memory. Yeah, okay. Well, there's a big battle going on. Let's see. The last question is about English history again, and it's about Elizabeth I, the Queen, Elizabeth I. This is a tangential note, but I only found out recently about something called the Bisley Boy. Have you ever heard of the Bisley Boy?
No.
You might have heard of maybe it's an urban myth or a concept, but the notion is Elizabeth I, so she is Henry VIII's daughter. The notion is that she died as a young girl in one of their palaces, which was near a town or a village called Bisley, and she was in fact replaced by a boy who was then schooled, trained, grew up to act like Elizabeth, because of course Elizabeth always has that kind of like androgynous thing going on, you know, in her portrayal. There's quite a big theory about the Bisley Boy if you look it up, and it's you can go down a massive rabbit hole in you know, theories about the Bisley Boy and Queen Elizabeth. So our question isn't about the Bisley Boy. Our question is about Queen Elizabeth, and our question is: Elizabeth I was the daughter of which of Henry VIII's wives? So who was her mother? Anne Boleyn, Anne Hathaway, or Catherine of Aragon? Oh, yeah. Joe had a question about this on More Trivia about the Bisley Boy. He probably did. Did you know who was her mother?
I think Anne Boleyn.
Very good. I would not have known that. That would have been a big guess. Most people got that right as well. Okay, very good. It's time for our drum roll. Have you enjoyed it, Margaret?
Oh, yes.
So people can look out. How can people find out more about you or find you? Do you hang out, and have you got a website, or do you do social media?
I am margaretmontet.com. That's my website, and you can click on a link that will bring you to my newsletter sign up. I send out a newsletter every once in a while when I have news. And I'm on Instagram. I'm not an Instagram pro, but I am Margaret the Writer on Instagram.
Oh, that's good. Bartholomew says you did so well, Margaret, and gives you 3 claps. Let's see exactly how well you did and whether you, in fact, managed to defeat your nemesis stroke colleague. I know he's watching. Here we go. Here's our final leaderboards. In top place, congratulations to Funky Fraser. Haven't seen you on the top before. 31 in second, and Chantilly third. And as we go down, 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 down. 21st, Margaret. You claim the honours. Just beating. And look who's 22nd today. Mr. Bill Hemmig again. So you just beat Bill again today. So that's so funny. Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we've loved having you on. I know people will be looking up your stuff, and I know the book sounds absolutely fascinating. So thank you so much, and let's keep in touch.
Thank you, and yeah, let's.
All right. Thanks again. Everyone says bye. Okay, see you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks, Margaret. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.